Hi everyone, welcome back to this series of PMP practice questions. This one is specifically from the PMBOK 7th edition as well, the latest PMBOK, or the Project Management Body of Knowledge. We've got 10 scenario-based questions, just like you'll see on the real exam as well. It's going to be a really great way to help you prepare and help you pass that exam. Let's get into the first question. You have collected the requirements for your project, matched them to project scope, and broken them down into smaller parts and the activities required. In doing this, you notice that the manager of the marketing department has added extra scope that is unrelated to your current project. Okay, what will you do next? Okay, so we have scope in our project. We've got someone over here has added something that they really want, and they've just thrown it over into our project to see if we can do it. So what do we do in these situations? Let's have a look. Start an open dialogue with the functional manager. That sounds pretty promising. Actually, I'm starting to see a trend as well in these questions in that they're a lot more about communication and collaboration and working together. They're more about working with people as opposed to, the processes that you'll find in the PMBOK 6th edition, which is really process-based. This one is more people-based, probably with that agile, way of working that you'll see. It's much more common. It's much more about people. So this seems to be on track here. Raise the incorrect scope items and their impacts and start an open dialogue. I think that's actually pretty good. We'll see what else we have just in case. Override the marketing manager's decision on scope as you're the senior project manager. Okay, you know what? This is going to be tricky, especially because the functional manager is our customer. So ultimately they'll be signing off on the scope. Oh no, the marketing manager isn't our customer. We could override it, but I think talking with them is probably a better option that we'll see. So let's put a low maybe for now on that one. Raise a change request for the additional scope and let the change control board decide, or the CCB. And this is in our change control process. But again, we need to figure out really if we need to make a change first. I think talking it through is probably best. We don't know if we're actually, if it actually fits in our project. And if we don't think it does, then maybe we need to talk it through first. Last one, place the additional scope into the product backlog for the product owner to prioritize it. That's also a really good one, especially from an agile perspective, because we might just have an ordered list and maybe that item just stays at the bottom of the list and it never gets prioritized, to be worked on next. And that's fine as well. But that's one way to do it. I think still we want to talk it through because maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they can actually do it. Maybe it needs to be part of some other project. We just don't know until we talk it through. I think for that purpose, let's go with answer A. Okay, without an open dialogue, you may not know if the scope was a mistake. There we go. Previously approved, that's right, could have been previously approved as well, or any other reason for it being there. Positive discourse and courage are key aspects of a winning project team culture. So, that's a really good thing to note. Others include support, respect, celebrating success, and transparency as well. So I think we're going to see these themes come up a lot as we go through these questions from the PMBOK 7th edition. And this is on page 21, Project Team Culture. If you want to check that out from the book directly yourself, that's where it came from. Fantastic. All right, that was a good one to start. Let's see what we've got next. Your project team are protected by a union agreement. You notice that they don't know how to use the product you're improving. They're slow to respond and regularly complain about the work. Okay, difficult situation here. Your project sponsor has had enough. Oh, okay, difficult situation, getting worse. And threatens to shut down the project if improvements can't be made. What will you do next? All right, another tricky situation where we have to use our project management skills to try and, win the day. Let's see what we can do here. And again, maybe we use a similar idea where we're trying to collaborate with people. I think that's probably where we're going here. Let's see. Set up a new project with different team members and transfer the project work to that team. That is a nice idea, but I don't think it's very feasible. So that's just something, there's going to take a lot of work to do that. We may even need, oh gosh, I just can't even imagine all the stuff involved to do that. Usually that won't be very straightforward. Plus, you're not guaranteed to get better results with different people immediately. You'll still have to go through the forming stages, forming, storming, norming, performing. You'll still have to go through the stages of a team development as well. So anyway, let's put that as a low maybe or a no for now. Set a clear project purpose and a vision and pair your team with the customer. Okay, I like this one. And again, it has that agile bent to it. We're working directly with the customer and we're also collaborating. We're setting a vision, maybe through a team charter, to show them how they are making a positive difference. I think that works with our engagement. We're trying to engage these guys, especially if they're complaining, not showing up, slow to respond. The engagement here is very low, obviously. So I think this is actually quite a good one. Let's see what else we have just in case. Tell your project team that they will lose their jobs. Okay, nothing like a threat to, and you know what, that might work for a little while, but eventually, either those people will leave if they get fed up. The engagement still won't increase based on a threat as well, if they don't increase the speed of their work. So let's put a no for that one for now. Again, sometimes that can work in some situations, but long term, it's better to work with people. Create a project Gantt chart, schedule, and burn down chart so the work is transparent to all. Transparency is also a good thing. Will that help us in this situation? Maybe not directly, I don't think. So I think working vision, working with the customer, pairing with the customer, and working with the product, helping them learn the product, I think for that reason, let's go with answer B. All right, excellent. This question calls for leadership skills. Oh, that's really good. Where setting a vision and a purpose and showing your team how they're making a difference can increase their intrinsic motivation, which is our internal motivation. So, when it's not money or bonuses or fame, we're actually internally motivated. We feel pride in what we're doing. We're happy with the work. Transferring to another team in the same company may risk the same result, and threatening your team may embed their behavior further. Oh, that's right. Because when you disagree with someone directly, it's like, have you ever found, do they change their mind immediately? No, they dig their heels in. They go, well, no, I'm even more right. So, and then it just becomes a battle like that. And this is where we're going. We're going with these ways around, little psychological tricks. Instead of making people embed that behavior further, we're actually helping them come out of that behavior through these things, pairing with the customer, showing them how they're making a positive difference. This is actually pretty good. Page 24, 25, leadership skills, establishing a vision and motivation in the PMBOK Guide, 7th edition. There we go. All right, let's get into the next one because these are actually pretty cool. I'm liking these so far. During a key scope meeting, an argument arises. Well, who would have thought? The business manager accuses the technology manager of not delivering to their needs on past projects, and the technology manager accuses the business manager of changing requirements that impact the delivery schedule. And of course, when our teams are separate, it's easy to point the finger at the other team, isn't it? The meeting is at risk with the stakeholders being closed off to any further discussion. So what are we going to do? What will we do next? All right, let's see what options we have. Take the side of the technology manager as the scope that impacts delivery should be controlled. I don't think we really want to take sides here. So let's see if we have anything else. Take the side of the business manager, as we should always deliver to the customer specification. The thing is, both of these things are true. So I think we have to work together again. It's that collaboration, because in this case, there's a little bit of correctness in each view. So that's pretty important. Facilitate, that's a good word, to keep the communication respectful. Focus on the issue in the present. That's good, and search for alternatives together. I think that's a really good answer. Again, we're sort of looking at that facilitation. Again, more of an agile way of working here, facilitating instead of directing. That's really good. Ensure they both agree to the change control process to avoid disagreements in the future. That's also a really good answer. So why not? Well, if they're agreeing to scope plus the change control process for how to make changes, that's actually pretty good. But to get there, I think we need to problem solve first and look at the issue in the present, not the past. I think that's probably where we're going to go. And again, seeing that same theme with all of these questions so far. Let's go with answer C. Okay, fantastic. Not all conflict is negative. How conflict is handled can either lead to more conflict or better decision making and stronger solutions. The PMBOK Guide notes open and respectful communication, focusing on the issue, not the person, and the present, not the past, and searching for alternatives together. and that's under page 29 under conflict management in the PMBOK Guide 7th edition. That was really good. All right, how did you guys go with that one? A few correct answers potentially there as well. So that's what you'll find on the PMP exam. Sometimes you'll see more than one answer that could be correct and you have to choose the best one. So for this purpose, I think this is actually pretty good. Let's see what we've got next. You are working on a project where the project team is completely distributed around the country in multiple sites, including working from home. Some of the project team members have not been able to contribute to the project, and there are concerns that from the program that the project will fall behind. What will you do next? Okay, so we've got people everywhere, and some team members actually haven't been able to contribute at all. So, you know, that's a problem, especially if we've got resources or we're paying for resources. So now if we're falling behind, not good. What are we going to do about this one? Okay, raise a request to the program to co-locate all your project team members as soon as possible. Another good idea, but how feasible is that really? Are we really going to uproot everyone from their respective cities and, you know, put them in one city, in the one place? That could be very difficult to do. So let's put a low maybe for now. Proceed with daily stand-ups and working group meetings with any team members in your area. Okay, what about the team members in the other areas? Probably not good for that one. Set team leaders for each area around the country to report back to you as the centralized project leader. Well, this is we're still working in different silos, isn't it? So that's probably still not good. Is there a way that we can get more transparency here and more interaction? I think if there is, let's go with that. Use technology to maintain ongoing contact with audio and video for meetings, a team website to keep all project information available. So that's our transparency. I think that's probably our one. And again, it's more about collaboration with everyone, not just a select few people. We want to talk with our team, get them all involved, and make sure they have all the information that they need as well. Let's go with answer D. Fantastic. This question is on distributed project teams. Really good, especially in this day and age. See it more and more and more. To improve, you can use audio and video capabilities for meetings, use technology, including messaging, for ongoing contact, build in time to get to know remote team members, and have an open project site for open information and transparency. Page 30 under Distributed Project Teams in the PMBOK Guide 7th edition. Fantastic. If you want to check that out for yourself, I do recommend it. It's not a bad read, it's actually pretty good. Not as big as the 6th edition, which is nice, so it's a little bit lighter. All right, how did you guys go for that one? I think we're getting through these. You're doing really, really well. Let's keep going. You are initiating a project to a sales team where the process will change significantly, even though the outcome of a completed sale will remain the same. Okay, that's fair enough. So we've got a process, but the process is changing even though the sale is the same. So, you know, that's fair enough. We still want the same outcome. The process is different, okay? The functional manager is concerned about the change and any disruption that it might bring. What will you do next? Okay, so is this about change management perhaps? Let's have a look. Kick off the project with multiple deliveries to deliver small parts and reduce the change impact. Yeah, I mean, that sounds nice. Smaller deliveries. Will it actually reduce the change impact? We're changing a whole process here. Kick off the project with a single delivery, okay, at the end of the project when the process change is complete. Let's see what else we've got. Kick off the project with continuous delivery in mind. I think that's a red herring, to ensure fast delivery to the business. Kick off the project using periodic deliveries as delivering value as it's ready. But again, it's one process change, so probably a no for that one. It's between these first two, and they're both good, but I do seem to remember with process changes, we want to do that in one go, just because we're changing that one process all in one go. It's a tricky one, but I think we're going to go with answer B, and let's see. Okay, all right. It could have gone either way, actually. Let's see if we get any tips from the answer. This question covers delivery cadence and their various benefits. A process re-engineering project may not have any deliveries until near the end of the project when the new process is rolled out and ready. Okay, all right. So that's what we're talking about there, directly from the PMBOK Guide, page 34 under delivery cadence. Quite tricky, Could have gone both ways, but that is something good to know and be aware of when you're doing the exam under those scenarios, under a process scenario, re-engineering process. All right, let's keep going. We're halfway through this little section. Hopefully they're not as tricky as that one, but we'll soon find out. You're working on a project where the requirements are clear, but the solution ideas are uncertain. The product owner and the technical experts can't be sure which ideas will work in practice and which ones won't. The organization can't afford to get this project wrong. Now that's a big clue, as they have previously made mistakes and customers are starting to leave. So what will you do next? So we've got uncertain solution ideas. So we might need to change or improve, but we can't afford to get the project wrong, so we can't really just be releasing bits to get feedback directly from our customers. We actually need to release in one go. So improvements along the way, but one big release is an iterative approach. So we're iterating towards success. So I think that's probably going to be our one here. Incremental is delivering increments of value. So we don't want to do that just yet because we don't want to scare away our customers. Use a predictive development approach. That will just plan everything up front and then deliver in one go without all of that feedback in between. And a hybrid is part agile and part waterfall. So not specifically for our scenario here. Let's go with answer B. Okay, all right. For development approaches, an iterative approach is used when you need to capture ideas that might change while still delivering in one release. Okay, that's good to know. Incremental progressively delivers features or increments. Predictive plans everything up front, and hybrid is a combination of predictive and adaptive. So this is page 37 under development approaches and page 18 as well. In the Agile Practice Guide. So that's pretty cool. So this is the PMBOK Guide as well as the Agile Practice Guide under characteristics of project life cycles. Very, very handy to know and good information to have. All right, how did you go with that one? So that's good to know. I think there's going to be quite a few of those on the exam around which life cycle do we choose or which development approach do we choose. All right, next question. You're working on a new product for your organization where the requirements are complex and are likely to change a few times as the project progresses. All right, that's another good clue. So requirements are going to change. The organization also needs usable parts of the product to be released. That's another good clue. Those are our increments as fast as possible to capture some of the market that they're aiming for away from their competitors. What will you do next? Sounds like an incremental approach here. We're delivering an increment, an increment, an increment, and getting that feedback as we're going along. So iterative, that's one big bang, but feedback. Predictive is planned up front. Adaptive, that could fit here. That's our agile approach, basically. So a combination of feedback plus releases, combination of iterative and incremental, that is. Adaptive or an agile approach. And hybrid is a combination of agile and waterfall. So those two in those two situations or scenarios. So based on that, we don't have an incremental option here, so increments, but we do have an adaptive or agile approach, which is increments plus feedback or increments plus iterations. I think we're going to go with answer C based on that. Great. Doing very well. Adaptive approaches are useful when requirements are subject to uncertainty and change, and a clear vision is established at the start of the project, and initial known requirements are refined or replaced in accordance with user feedback as we're going along or unexpected events. Under page 35, adaptive approach in the PMBOK Guide 7th edition. Wonderful. How did you go with that one? I think we've had a few on the same idea here now, that development approach. It's pretty good to get into, so especially the different scenarios that we will see. Let's get into the next question. We've only got 3 to go for this little section. A new project has been kicked off in your organization due to a recent government inquiry into your industry. Okay, government could be a clue here, so lots of regulation, which found multiple processes with significant regulatory oversight that need to change. Okay, usually when government or regulation is involved, if this is about processes again or development approaches, okay, which it seems to be, it's usually going to be a predictive or a waterfall approach where we're planning everything up front getting all of the quality checks and things signed off properly, and then releasing so that there's no mistakes. And that's where we've got a lot of regulation and a lot of government oversight. So, could be that one. Let's quickly finish this and see if there's any other clues just in case. The inquiry ordering these changes has given you a due date of 10 months' time before you start incurring penalties. What will you do next? Proceed with an agile development approach to deliver change as quickly as possible. Again, it sounds good, and that does have potential, but with that government oversight and regulatory environments, probably best to go with predictive, at least from the PMBOK Guide's perspective. Proceed with a hybrid development approach to respond to changes while planning up front. Again, actually, I think any of these could fit, but again, as sort of mentioned directly in the PMBOK, I do remember that regulatory oversight. Proceed with an iterative methodology to improve using feedback. Again, so all of these are actually quite good, but the best one for us, let's go with answer C. Okay, all right, we're doing well. In considerations for selecting a development approach, environments that have significant regulatory oversight may need to use a predictive approach due to the required process, documentation, and demonstration needs. So again, just trying to satisfy all of those government regulations can be a bit more tricky, can need a bit more oversight and a bit more planning. Page 40 under considerations for selecting a development approach in the PMBOK Guide, 7th edition. Fantastic work. All right, and last two questions. You're doing amazing work. These have certainly been a little bit different, so much less process-based, isn't it, than the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. All right, last two, let's go. Your organization is moving to an agile way of work. Your project team are strongly opposed to using agile as they've been burned using iterations. When executives used the team velocity to try and force the team to work faster instead of keeping a sustainable pace. Wow, there's a lot of information there. Sustainable pace is what we want in agile, so we don't want to have peaks and troughs. It's not hurry up and then wait, hurry up and then wait. We want sustainable pace of work so people don't burn out and don't have to work overtime to catch up. And all of that to say, velocity as well is the amount of work that we're getting through in an iteration. So the average amount of work, usually in story points, so maybe it's 50 story points on average every iteration, but that's an internal team measure. We only want to measure that within the team because every team is going to be different and every team is going to have a different product, different complexity, different people. So that velocity, once executives get their hands on that and try and use it as a beating stick instead of, just as a way for the team to understand how much work they can take on to keep their sustainable pace, then, things get a little bit more ugly. So that's something to be very aware of. It's actually a pretty good scenario here. What are we going to do here? Okay, so we're moving to an agile way of work, so it seems like we have to do that anyway. How can we get around this? Add extra resources to your team to deliver faster and avoid executives getting involved. I don't think those two are related. Executives will probably still be involved potentially. Adding extra resources might complicate things as well, so something that may not help. Proceed with a predictive development approach and deal with the consequences later. We may not have that option because it's coming from the organization, it's moving to an agile way of work. We may have to do this eventually, and so why not see if we can figure it out now rather than later. So let's put a no for that one for now. Ask your team to work with agile velocity and iterations despite their hesitations. This might work, but again, it's we could force them to do it, but because we're forcing them, they are sort of convinced against their will, and it just may not work. They may not have their hearts in it, so their engagement will be low. Again, we're seeing a lot of engagement and sort of that leadership come into these questions. I'm going to put a no for that one and hope the last one is okay. Maybe we just select the last one based on elimination. Unless they're all wrong, let's see what we've got. Suggest the team uses flow-based scheduling. Okay, well this actually sounds promising. Flow-based scheduling with a Kanban board for visual work. So those are agile principles that we can use. So we've got visual management, Kanban board, moving our work across the board, and flow-based scheduling. We've got a work in progress limit. So we only want sort of 3 cards for this person at one time, or 1 card or 2 cards, or 5 cards, user stories, pieces of work, work packages, whatever you want to call them, that someone is working on. That's how we're limiting work in progress to keep people focused on the 1 or 2 things at once. So we're not multitasking and context switching. Gosh, a lot of words in here, a lot of agile-based words that you will see and find, but all of that, I think, let's go with answer D. And there it is. Kanban is one of the largest parts of agile approaches, aside from the other parts, other major parts such as Lean, Extreme Programming, and Scrum. A flow-based scheduling approach does not use sprints, velocity, or life cycles, but optimizes deliveries based on resource capacity and minimizes waste, such as context switching and handoffs between different people. So again, we sort of described how that happens with Kanban there, which is pretty cool. And you can use that in the real world. Very, very handy stuff. And there we are, answer D, and that's the description. Page 45 under flow-based scheduling in the PMBOK Guide 7th edition. This is really good stuff, and you can see much more agile stuff coming into these questions. It's pretty cool. And what else is pretty cool? We're up to the last question. You've done really, really well. Let's do this. You've done an amazing job. Your team have not worked on projects before and don't know about waterfall, agile, or any of the different models. Your project may also have requirements that are certain or uncertain with varying levels of risk, so you're not sure which approach to use as you begin this new project. What will you do next? Okay, so we're not sure about our, which way we're going to go, waterfall or agile, and also we've got requirements that could be certain or could be uncertain. No one really seems to know. So what approach can we use in this scenario? Can we use any approach at all? Let's see what we've got. Use waterfall and plan everything up front so the team have more stability. Sure, that could definitely work. That's a maybe. Use general phase definitions such as feasibility, design, build, test, deploy, and close. That is actually very interesting. Okay, there's something about this because what you'll see in the PMBOK guide, and even just when you work around any projects, these are actually the broad sort of phases that you'll go through on any project or in any life cycle. Well, if we're using agile, then feasibility, design, build, test, deploy, and close. These are sort of done for each project increment, and then we get the feedback, and then we do it again for the next increment. If we're doing it for waterfall, this is the sequential, start to finish planning steps and then release steps from the very beginning of the project to the very end of the project, where we release all in one go. So these are actually the same in any development lifecycle. They're just at different stages or used a little bit differently, but we still have to go through them. That's actually pretty good. So let's see what else we have just in case. Use Agile to ensure you can respond to change while your team's capability increases. Again, that's a fine answer. It's actually quite good, but we're not sure on anything else. We can use something that fits everything quite broadly. Don't use any project approach. It doesn't matter as long as the work is getting done. I mean, maybe as well. There's probably better answers there. You could probably do that in the real world and just see if you could go for it, but it's way better if you've got a process that actually works in my experience. So I think for us, let's go with answer B. All right, excellent work. All projects will go through the general phases of feasibility, design, build, test, deploy, and close. Waterfall projects will do these in sequence once, while Agile projects will do it multiple times for each feature or increment. The underlying principle remains the same, so this is a good place to start. Page 42, Life Cycle and Phase Definitions in the PMBOK Guide 7th edition. That was a really, really good one. And wow, so much information here, so much great stuff for your own PMP exam that now, we've learned this, we've done it in an exam environment already. This is something that's truly, truly going to help you pass the exam, and I really do believe that you can do it, especially with all this work that you are putting in. I truly believe in you. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.